stretch produced an amazing finish by Billy Mills.
And here we go in the final lap for the gold medal in the 10,000 meters. And up front is Bill Mills. He's pressing Ron Clark, the world champion. Bill Mills, the United States, number 722, is leading Ron Clark. And in third place right now is Mahout Kamuni of Tunis. A tremendous upset if Bill Mills can hang on. But Kamuni goes out ahead. It's Kamuni right now leading in the 10,000 meter. Ron Clark is third. Rather, Bill Mills is in third. Ron Clark is in second right now. This is the final lap for the 10,000 meters. The unheralded Mahout Kamuni of Tunis is putting on a tremendous sprint. He's out ahead of Ron Clark. Bill Mills, United States, in third place. This will certainly be the fastest 10,000 meter ever run by an American.
Here's Mills, who seems to be boxed in. Suddenly there's an opening, and here he comes.
Here they come down the final lap. Can Ron Clark catch Kamuni? They're going through the field. He's coming up. He's passing Kamuni. Look at Mills. Look at Mills. Look at Mills. Mills is coming on. It might be Bill Mills. What a tremendous surprise here. Bill Mills, the United States, wins the 10,000 meters. Bill Mills, the United States, a tremendous upset, wins the 10,000 meter here. Is unheralded winners.
Radio.net. Stacey Sturm and Nicole Morrison-Mathern. We're out here broadcasting live from United Tribes for the annual Thunderbird Run. And the half marathon is already underway. It kicked off, probably about a half an hour ago. So I imagine they're probably going to be coming in here any minute. We have Olympic gold medalist Billy Mills. Hey, Billy, come over here real quick. You flew in from where?
Oh, gosh, I live in Sacramento, California,
Okay.
but I've been on about a 10-day tour.
Yeah.
So last night I spoke here at the United Tribes College, Technical College. Yesterday morning I spoke in Cocoa Beach, Florida. So I came in from Florida, before that Arizona, but this is my 14th year. If I continue traveling like I have in the past, it'll be my 14th year of traveling 300 or more days a year.
Wow, that doesn't give you a lot of downtime.
Not a lot of downtime, but I've thoroughly enjoyed the journey. We'll be slowing down after the 2012 Olympic Games, but in October, my wife and I'll go to my 97th and 98th country. Then the following year, we'll go to our 99th, 100th, and 101st country.
Wow.
So I've had a really blessed journey over the years after being orphaned as a youngster, and then simply by winning a gold medal at the Olympic Games. I've been very blessed.
Yeah, you have an amazing story. What was it, the 64 Olympics? Is that what I see in Tokyo?
In 1964, I had won a gold medal at the Olympic Games. It's looked upon as the greatest upset in the history of the Olympic Games, but I actually go to the Games ranked 8th in the world, unranked in the United States. And simply because of Plessy versus Ferguson being overturned with the Brown versus Board of Education, it was a white and black America in conflict. So if you're a female, Asian-speaking, Native American, you didn't fit into that equation. So I won the gold medal at the Games, and then last year, March of 2009, my race was voted the greatest distance race on the track in the history of the Olympic Games. And it just like, when's it going to stop? I've been so blessed, and been able to travel and have friends throughout the world, all because of that.
I heard a wise man saying a number of times it's about the journey. And a couple of times last night you mentioned that, and you're mentioning it again today. It has been a phenomenal journey, and you've touched a lot of lives. I think the number is like 500 million you've raised for charities.
Actually, through the use of my name, Christian Relief Services, Running Strong for American Indian Youth, International Relief and Rescue, Bread and Water for Africa, and America Helping Americans. We've actually gone over $650 million cash and in-kind for charities worldwide. Now, my name has just been one of the focal points to raise the funds, but the money came in from very compassionate, loving people in America. People that want to see a change. They want to see the world a better place for all to live. And now we have contributions coming in from Europe. We have a small office in Germany, and it's the compassion of the world and people just saying, we want to make this a better place to live. So the journey is global in so many ways, and only because of so many people wanting to help other people.
Well, you know, global makes sense. It happened in Japan in 1946 years ago, Billy. And you're still running strong, aren't you? You're still running brave, aren't you? Yeah, I love the story. He talks about him and Robbie Benson racing, and he lets him beat him now.
Yeah. If Robbie was here, he would say, no, I beat Billy fair and square. But Robbie and I keep in touch. In fact, Robbie's had 2 open heart surgeries. And when he ran the New York Marathon, he had a defective valve. So I ran 16 of the 26 miles with him. But what an athlete. Like 6 weeks after open heart surgery, he ran a 41-minute 10K. He says he just does his biking now. And he said, Billy, I curse you every day. And I said, Robbie, what do you mean? He said, I get on my bicycle, and in order to exercise and because of the open heart surgery he had, he said, I have a picture of him in Running Brave, and he has a picture of me breaking the taper at the Olympic Games. And he said, you're my motivation to run every day and just keep myself healthy. But I've been blessed even through the movie Running Brave. Pat Hingle became a dear friend, and Robbie Benson is just a tremendous friend. Possibly my wife and I will be with Robbie on the Crystal Cruise Lines in 2011 as they have a film symposium, and one of the movies they'll show is Running Brave.
I got to tell you that I saw Running Brave, but only because I had a huge crush on Robbie Benson. It was before I knew you, and so now I'm going to watch it again because it's your story. But I did. I watched it when I was probably a teenager because I had the hugest crush on Robbie Benson. But
and now you've got connections, maybe.
Your story's phenomenal, and it's long, so it's hard to put into a little radio interview. But some of the things that I took away, you have those virtues, values, that kind of stuff that dig deep, and the story with your father and the circle is amazing. And then when you're running and you're having your diabetic reaction and that kind of stuff, and the thing I think I don't even know which part is the best part, but I think when you thought you saw the eagle on the guy's chest, you want to just share just a couple things with the listeners on what was going on in those final 30 seconds of your race?
Yeah, basically my dad, when my mom died, said, son, you have broken wings, but if you do these things, someday you'll have wings of an eagle. And took a stick and drew a circle and said, step inside of the circle. Told me to look beyond the hurt, the hate, the jealousy, the self-pity. All of those emotions will destroy me. He said, way down deeper is a dream. You've got to find the dream. It's the pursuit of the dream that healed you. I was on the verge of suicide a junior in college, and instead of jumping, I started searching for the dream. I wrote down gold medal, 10,000-meter run. Started training at the Olympic Games, 100 meters to go, coming off the curve. I'm going low blood sugar, type 2 diabetic. Didn't understand what that meant at that point in time, and I don't know if I can catch the runners. And I look as I'm passing by a German runner, and in the center of the German's jersey was an eagle. It was back to my dad when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years of age. Wings of an eagle. I can win, I can win, I can win. 30 yards to go. It was I won, but I'm still in third place. And 1,000,000 times in 30 yards I must have thought, I may never be this close again. I've got to do it now. Wings of an eagle. Then I felt the tape break across my chest. I won. I go looking for the German to tell him his singlet helped me win, and there was no eagle there. So basically what I've told people over the years, perceptions are very powerful. They're positive and negative perceptions, but we can choreograph the perceptions we want.
And you would never know that 3-4 laps before that, you're figuring out ways to quit. He was going to punch some guy, so you get to quit the race because he just didn't think he could do it anymore, and so many different things going through his head, and then bam.
Yeah, when you go low blood sugar, you also get a little.
Blame it on the diabetes. So what's your advice to not just Native Americans growing up now, but anybody who feels like giving up sometimes, Billy?
I think you have to realize that's a normal reaction. Wanting to quit is a normal reaction. But if you understand it's a normal reaction, and if you truly have a dream, you experience the passion. And once you experience that passion and you're pursuing the dream, you don't quit. It's just a matter of one more try. But most people will really not look for that passion within their lives. They'll not find the passion, so they don't really know what a passion is. But if you find a passion, you feel it right in the heart. You're willing to accept defeat, not failure. You're willing to pick yourself back up and move to higher ground to pursue excellence. And you also know when it's time to walk away from a passion. Those are hard decisions to make, but if you experience the passion, you pursue it, then it becomes much more clear. Unfortunately, a lot of our young people don't really know how to find the passion because we're almost a society of where our young people have to be entertained. We're